start, Coach, give me your reaction when you found out you were elected to the Hall of Fame.
Well, obviously, I was very thrilled, honored, but very, very humble. If you look at our Hall of Fame here in West Memphis, all the athletes are professional athletes or college All-Americans, and all the non-athletes are, they've been here a long time, served the school a long time, and won multiple state championships. So I'm very humbled to be included in that group.
Okay. Now, list some memories of your coaching days.
Yeah, that's hard because we've had so many great teams here and great memories. The first one is in 2001, the first year when we beat Little Rock Central in the playoffs. That was big for a couple reasons. Number one, obviously winning a playoff game, but the other thing was it guaranteed that we would not have a losing season, which was a big thing anytime you're in your first year. So that was a huge win for us. In 2003, we go to Fort Smith Southside. They're the number one team in the state. We play them on a cool, rainy night. They had a parade All-American, Slick Shelley, and we ended up mercy ruling them, which was a huge win for us. Of course, Conway's game with Peyton Hillis, a future NFL player, winning that ball game there at the very end. And I think one of the biggest upsets we had was in 2009. We played Pine Bluff in a non-conference game. They were rated the number one team in the state. Claude Johnson was their quarterback. He was offered a scholarship to Ole Miss. I think he went on to pro baseball. But coming back in the fourth quarter like we did and winning, and we had absolutely no returning starters that year. And that was a big win for us. And there's so many other ones too, but those are some that kind of come to my mind.
Okay, Coach, list some influences.
Well, obviously Frank McClellan. Starting off coaching with Frank McClellan down at Barton was a huge influence. The winningest coach ever in the state of Arkansas, being under his tutelage. Grafton Moore is a great influence here. And of course, Bill Kessinger, he wasn't a coach, but he was a great influence on how to handle situations, and he was always there as a great mentor for me.
Okay, Coach, finally, who do you want to thank?
Well, number one, I got to thank Mr. Kessinger and Grafton Moore for hiring me. That was the biggest thing there. But, my family, Penny has been so supportive throughout the years. And if you're going to coach, you got to have a great family. And then Megan and Cody, both of them really enjoyed athletics. And it's so important that the whole family's involved in Blue Devils. And they were. So that was the big one.
I did see, that first inaugural class, and it was just full of studs. It was just like crazy, right? It's West Memphis is just a hotbed of just extraordinary, individuals, not just, athletes, but just people in general. And so I had just not, connected all of those dots in such a quick, just a matter of really one sentence. I really covered a lot of ground, so I've experienced a full range of emotions going from, like, one day a week. We would have during track season, it was, it would build up through cross country and through the indoor season to prepare for, fast times and outdoors. Particular day was the early part of December. I'll never forget, the early part of December, and he had taken the team out through to like Waverly. It was, 10 miles out. And it was a special treat for me. I did not realize at what point. I knew it was going to happen. I didn't know what point, but that Coach Moore was going to, assist and, run me in right at the end of the race. And he picked up. I had run. Maybe I just come to like where Avalon, where Dad's school used to be, and I would have left. I think 2.5 miles to get back to the high school track and out. And I had come up there, and I saw Coach Moore. He took off, and between just not, having the best of days, he just got smaller and smaller. He just literally just pretty quick just did away with me. And by the time I got back into the clubhouse, he already left. He was gone. He had gotten dressed, and I was like, Coach Nooner. I said, hey, Coach, where's Coach Moore? Coach Nooner basically said, well, he's taking so long, he couldn't really wait for you. I think back to just the conference championships that really, started to run. 4A East Conference really dominated the conference championship, and that was the start back in the 80s, and we started doing really well, in the state championships. We felt like, that our team and all the stuff that we did really, set some really strong groundwork as well as expectations to. So biggest influences beyond a doubt would be, start with my mom. Growing up, earliest memories was pretty much just started just me and my mom. My father had, unfortunately, he had passed away last couple years. So from the time I was 4 or 5 years old, he was pretty much, bedridden. And so with his passing, my mom became really that pivotal, that central part that was really important. As a matter of fact, I would actually during Mother's Day would always celebrate that, but I would also celebrate Father's Day with her as well, because she basically encompassed both of those functions. The other great influencers would be it was the coaches. Coaches were basically, for me, represented that father figure, and the beauty of it is I look back on it. A lot of times when you're younger, you don't really realize the full picture, the full impact. But those influences are, my mom, as well as fulfilling that maternal role, and as well as the coaches fulfilling that paternal aspect. And I would definitely like to thank, not only just the coaches. I think back, Coach Nooner, Coach Moore, Coach Parker, Coach Maxwell. There were countless other coaches as I went up through, my, high school, times, teammates. Couldn't be more thrilled to, understand that Cleon will be part of this, to, share the stage with Cleon, as well as just the teammates, and just, the community in general. Really feel that, all the ingredients for success existed right there in West Memphis, and I could not have had I would not fool with what I consider to be, perfection for me, personally. So I would just, like to express appreciation, gratitude, love for, for the coaches, the teammates, for the city, for West Memphis, to have really given me the opportunities that I've been, blessed to, and experiences that I've been blessed to, have and experience in this lifetime.
Okay, Nikki, tell me, what was your reaction when you found out you were elected to the Hall of Fame?
I didn't really hear him when he told me. I was like, oh, okay. Wait, what? Probably one of the most profound memories would be Miss J and her devos, her little notes of encouragements that she always gave us, her love of any and everything Blue Devils, what I like to call the Coach Genisms. What in the Sam Hill? It'll all come out in the wash, Nick. Nick, as he grits his teeth together while he's also pulling his pants up really high. Probably the state championship game, particularly since we lost in the first round on our home court the year before. And then in that game, Shep and I had fouled out in the championship game, and Stephanie Cole shoots this high-arcing rainbow free throw to seal the game. And the fact that Lisa Buckley was like the shortest post player in the host state with the highest ups. Coach Hill being the glue of our team that kind of kept all of us together. And although she didn't say a lot of the time, when she did say something, it meant so much to us. And she just always made us laugh, and she'd drop her head at us because we cracked her up so much. But I would say my mom and my grandmother, obviously Coach Gene was a tremendous influence in my life, from coming to get me and Shep and some of the other girls all the way back from junior high and bringing us up and taking us to camps. Miss J had a big, profound impact in our lives, on many fronts, but obviously really spiritually, and just building us up as young ladies and as, team members, taught us how to be team players. Many of the former Lady Blue Devil players, that we looked up to because Coach Gene brought us around, Sonja Tate and Tabby Patterson, and all of the players that we always aspired to be like, and of course Shep and all of my AAU teammates. My youth coaches like Tim Bird, who made playing sports at such a young age so much fun. I would say those were probably some of my biggest influences. My family, especially my mom, for always supporting me and being the example of toughness in my life. My dad, who, although he never got to play sports when he was a kid because he had to work, and he would struggle to see the value at first of us playing sports, but he loved us enough to give us the desires of our hearts as kids. My siblings, especially my brothers, whom I always wanted to be a good example for. And while I failed a few times, overall, I always tried to do what was right. To my nieces and nephews, they're my drive, my heart, my everything. I didn't know it then, but I know now the importance of having someone make a way. I hope they believe that they can go to college and play college sports and become whatever they dream to become, because their Aunt Nikki has done it, so surely, they can do it too. Coach Gene for pushing me, for being the best coach one could ever dream of having. Coach never cussed us, he never belittled us, he never treated us with disrespect. Only the love of a daughter, he just treated us as if we were one of his very own kids. Every single one of us, no matter who we were, what color we were, I just never saw an ounce of anything like racism or prejudicism out of him. He's just a good-hearted, gritty country boy who just loved to coach him some girls basketball, and he was just really good at it. My teammates, because you just can't do anything alone, and so they just, made it all so much fun. And then, of course, my youth coaches, like I said before, like Tim Bird, and then, of course, the sweetest, kindest, most selfless, humbled, God-fearing husband of all, Larry Bray. He's my rock and has always believed in me more than I believed in myself. Taught me everything I know about breaking down film, preparing for games, and studying the game, assessing player potential, coaching with your head and not with your heart, as he likes to remind me, dealing with parents and media and administrators and the public scrutiny and every other imaginable aspect that comes with the territory of coaching. But most of all, he taught me to love teaching the game. And last but definitely not least, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, without whom, I would be absolutely nothing, and absolutely none of this would have ever been possible.
Okay, Cleon Brown, give me your reaction when you found out you were elected to the Hall of Fame.
Oh man, well it was a wow, because I was looking at the athletes that's already in there, and I was like, man, do I belong here? I really didn't. I didn't even know I was considered, for the Hall of Fame. But it's a great honor, and it's always been great to be a Blue Devil.
Okay, Cleon, list some memories of your Blue Devil playing days.
Most of the memories that I really enjoyed was when we be on that team bus and we have our team jerseys on, and when we go to the stadium, people just lined up before the game, just to see us. And I didn't realize that being a Blue Devil was so proud, and also the games, man. I enjoyed playing and picking up fumbles and running. Know I wasn't gonna score, but I enjoyed that. And one incident I remember that I talk about a lot with Stanley Andrews, we were playing Mariana, sacked the quarterback, and he jumped up and got on his lineman and said, "Hey, why'd you block Cleon?" And Stanley looked at me and said, "How do he know your name?" And I just laughed about that. I mean, but overall, just playing, just hear that band play, and it give you chills when that band playing, man. You just ready. You ready to go. You're in a whole different, you ready to roll,
Okay, Cleon, give me some of your biggest influences.
Off the top, my great-grandmother, because she was an educator in the Hughes district years ago, mainly before I was born, and she raised us if she give us a command to do something, she would spell it. She would always spell it out and make us spell, and I just admired her for that as I went through school, because I didn't like missing school either. And of course my parents, they worked a lot, so that was one reason my great-grandmother kind of raised us. My parents worked all the time, and they was always very, very supportive of me, whatever I want to do. And also my big brother, he's not here with us today, but he was a real, real big influence.
Okay, Cleon, tell us who you would like to thank.
First, thank God for being here. I had 2 kidney transplants back to back, and I am grateful to be here. I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for even considering me, to just consider me. And I want to thank also you, Billy Woods, because I like the way you interact with the players and the coaches, and I really, really like that. And also coaches, man, there's a lot of coaches. Coach Parks, Coach Noonan, Coach Moore, Coach Maxwell. I mean, all those great guys, and they pushed me. Coach Parks and Coach Noonan, they really, really pushed me. And I'm grateful for them. And a couple of my teammates, Nikita, oh man, since 3rd grade, we've been together, and he always pushed me too, because he's one of the most competitive guys I know.
Mike, give me your reaction when you found out that you guys were voted into the Hall of Fame.
Well, initially I was pretty surprised when I got the phone call from Coach Bray stating that we were elected to go into the High School Hall of Fame. I guess I felt very honored and humbled. I say humbled just to be remembered after almost 40 years later. Well, of course, one of the biggest is actually obviously going to 60-0 and winning the 2 overall state championships. But I guess one of my bigger memories is just remembering the large crowds that showed up to every game, every sold-out game that was either at home or the away games, and it was actually fun playing in front of those large crowds. And of course, it was always a great memory to defeat those Blytheville, Jonesboro, and especially the Little Rock teams. And I know that you remember, but we all played, as far as the players, we all played on different teams in middle schools. So we actually kind of competed against each other until it was time to go to high school. So it was a great memory to see all these athletes combine into one great team. I had great influences growing up. Of course, my parents, my mom and dad, were always a great influence, teaching me, about hard work and what it takes to achieve the things you wanted. And then, I was lucky enough to have some good coaches throughout my career, from the boys club leagues to the middle school, which middle school was Coach Ronnie Williams. It was a great influence. And then, of course, high school, Coach Twilliger and Coach Bray. I also had some great teachers throughout my middle school and high school years. Some other influences were, during that time, the late 70s, early 80s, we had the Memphis Tigers. So everybody kind of looked up to Larry Finch and those guys. They were all great influences. And then I guess finally just, of course, all the great athletes that I played against and with throughout my career.
Great. Okay, finally, who do you want to thank?
Well, again, obviously my parents for all the sacrifices they made while I was growing up, just giving me the opportunity to do something that I love, and that was playing basketball. I would like to, again, thank all the great coaches that I played for. I also like to thank you, Billy Woods, for keeping this Blue Devil memory alive. And then probably, I guess, most of all, I'd like to thank the entire West Memphis community that supported Blue Devil basketball during my high school years.
Myself, Stanley Andrews, Mike McFerrin, and Michael Cage have been playing together since the 4th grade. We were all East Side boys, and we, at that time, had Nikita Robinson, also a Hall of Famer at West Memphis, who was a standout in football. Then when Keith Lee joined us in the 11th grade, he was a 10th grader. We all became a close-knit group. We had lots of heart. We had lots of determination. We were strong, quick, had lots of abilities, but most of all, we were coachable. When I think about this team, the thing that always stands out in my mind is the desire that this group of guys had. You know, even our subs could have started for practically every team in the state. We were so deep, our bench, our coaches, even the managers, we were just all close-knit family. And we would laugh because we played a multiple defense. And sometimes in the games, people would say, opposing players would say, how do you guys know which D to switch to? And of course, we never would say nothing, but it depended on the number of the jersey on our uniform that we would switch the defenses. And we knew each other like the back of our hands. And I think that what I remember most about this team was the camaraderie. You know, we loved each other. We were friends on and off the court. Our practices were sometimes better than our games because there was so much talent from all the guys that played. When I think about how McFerrin got hot in the state tournament, I think about Cage, greatest rebounder I've ever seen, Keith Lee, guy could score block shots. I thought about our bench coming in. I thought about Stanley, one of the best floor generals probably in the state. He could run the show and push the ball like nobody's business. And then me, I was kind of the long shooter. And, man, when I got in the corner, it was lights out. And I was thinking how the gym, when I'd let her fly, they would all go, woo. And, man, you could hear the crowd just scream as me or McFerrin would shoot a long one, and it just bust the bottom of the net. But I think the highlight was in the state championship when we were down at halftime against Parkdale, and we kind of, you know, we'd never been behind, and we faced slow-down defenses. We faced, they couldn't run with us. None of them could. But it seemed like in the state tournament, our bigs got in foul trouble, and we were having some different issues. Stanley got in some foul trouble, and never happened before. But what I remember is at halftime, Stanley said, man, we got to work. We got to press. We got to do whatever we can. And we came out, and it was just lights out. We played like nobody's business and won that semifinal game. And then in the state championship, my favorite play ever was the tip that Aaron Price got, where he tipped the ball in and at the end of the game, and he hit the free throw to ice it for us. And as I was telling Cage and Andrews earlier, Aaron Price, he made me a college All-American because when he guarded me in practice, he was so aggressive. And he, you know, if I could shoot over Aaron Price the way he jumped, man, I could shoot over anybody. And he was the only guy I know that could foul me even through walkthroughs, and all the guys would laugh about that. But I loved him, and I just, when I think about all the playing days, you know, of us playing together, it's been a highlight of my life. And, you know, this team truly had a desire to win, and without question, at that particular time in the era in our lives, it made men out of us. Great team, that 1979-80 crew. The greatest influence of all was Coach Larry Bray. When I was in the 8th grade, Coach Bray became my junior high coach, at East Junior High, and every morning before school he challenged me. If I really wanted to be a player, he would meet me every morning at 6:30. And I went every morning. I walked to school in the dark, rain, snow, it didn't matter. I went to school, and Coach Bray showed up for me, and he would work with me an hour, hour and a half before school. And I can honestly say I became the player, the shooter that I became. I owe it all to Coach Bray.
All right, Tim. Lastly, who would you like to thank?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because without him, none of us would have the talent, the abilities, or even the effort to do what we did. So number one, he's first and foremost. Then I would like to thank my parents, James and Joy Harrell. You know, my dad and mom always have been my best supporters, as I know the guys' families have done the same for them. My brothers, Alan and Eric. I'd like to thank my coaches, Bill Twilliger and Larry Bray, two of the best coaches that I've ever had in my entire life. I'd like to thank all my teammates and my friends. I would like to thank the sports editor, John Woods, and I'd like to thank Billy Woods for always covering us. And I'd like to thank Billy Woods for writing such an incredible book that covered the story of our team in that era. And then I'd like to thank the city of West Memphis. One thing that's always been dear to my heart is no matter where I've been or what I've done, I'm a Blue Devil, and I'm proud to be from the city of West Memphis, Arkansas.